The brace clicks 3 times before it locks. Nico's breath catches. Not from surprise anymore, just muscle memory of pain that's been waiting 16 years to leave. Luca's hands hover near the joint, grease-stained fingers trembling with something that isn't fear, it's recognition. Because 3 winters ago, he heard that same sound. Different garage, different boy, same clicking metal that promised mobility but delivered prison. His pup never walked again. And 6 months later, Luca buried him in a grave too small for the world's cruelty. Does it hurt? Luca asks quietly. Nico meets his eyes. Brown, intelligent, carrying shame that no 16-year-old should know how to hide. Always, the boy whispers. But everyone says that's normal. Luca's jaw tightens. Behind them, Dante Romano, billionaire, alpha, mafia king who breaks men with silence, watches with the kind of desperation that power can never buy. His son has been broken for years, and the world calls it healing. Luca stands, decision already made before his mind catches up. It's not normal, he says, and I'm going to prove it. If you've ever watched someone suffer because the system said their pain was just part of life, you need to see what happens next. Because some miracles don't come from doctors. They come from people who refuse to accept cruelty as medicine. The white Mercedes doesn't belong here. Luca notices this first, not the polished chrome or the engine that purrs like contained thunder, but the wrongness of wealth in an alley where rust and oil stains are the only currencies that matter. He's wiping his hands on a rag that gave up being clean 3 years ago when the car door opens. The boy appears first, thin, pale, 16, maybe 17. Red athletic tank top clinging to a frame that should be running, jumping, living, but isn't. Metal braces wrap both legs from ankle to mid-thigh. They gleam under the single flickering garage light, surgical-grade titanium that probably cost more than Luca's entire year of rent. The boy grips the car door frame, knuckles white. His legs shift, braces clicking softly, mechanically, like a clock counting down to something inevitable. He tries to stand. His knee buckles. He catches himself with a sharp inhale that he buries immediately behind a mask of teenage pride. Luca's chest tightens, Omega instincts flaring hot and protective before he can shove them down. He knows that sound. That click, that hidden wince. Garage is closed, Luca calls out, voice rougher than he intends. Unless it's an emergency. The second man steps out of the Mercedes, tall, expensive suit that probably costs more than the car. Dark hair swept back with the kind of precision that suggests control in every aspect of life. His presence shifts the air, dangerous, contained, alpha in a way that makes Luca's instincts scream, run, and protect simultaneously. Dante Romano. Luca knows the name even if he's never met the man. Everyone in this city knows Dante Romano, CEO of half the skyline, mafia royalty in a suit, the kind of alpha who ends careers with a phone call and lives with a single command. But right now, Dante Romano looks at his son struggling to stand, and his jaw trembles just once before he locks it down. Then it's an emergency, Dante says quietly. The words hang in the oil-thick air. Alphas like Dante don't ask for help. They demand. They take. They break what doesn't comply. They don't stand in forgotten garages with desperation bleeding through $10,000 suits. Luca's gaze shifts back to the boy. Their eyes meet. Brown. Intelligent. Embarrassed. But underneath that, something that makes Luca's hands curl into fists. Hope. Desperate, fragile, painful hope that's been disappointed so many times, it barely knows how to exist anymore. "What's your name?" Luca asks softly. The boy swallows. "Nico." The name lands like a punch, because 3 years ago, Luca had a name like that too. Matteo, his pup. Gone. Luca forces the memory down and nods. "Okay, Nico," he says. "Let's get you inside." Dante moves to help. Alpha instinct. Protective and overwhelming. But Nico flinches, not from fear, from shame, from the exhaustion of needing help with every single step for 16 years. So Luca steps in instead. The moment his hands brush Nico's arm, the Omega bond sense flares. Not mating, not attraction, but something older. A pup in pain. Luca's hands steady automatically. He guides Nico through the garage door, past workbenches cluttered with tools and half-finished projects that will never be finished. Nico exhales, long, shaking, like he's been holding tension in his spine for years, and this dark, quiet space is the first place he's felt safe enough to release it. Dante follows 3 steps behind, watching everything with the kind of controlled terror that powerful men wear when they're powerless. Luca pretends not to notice. He circles Nico slowly, not touching the braces yet, just studying how they sit, how they force angles that don't belong, how they click with every micro-adjustment, mechanical precision masquerading as medical necessity. "Who fitted these?" Luca asks. "The best specialists in Europe," Dante says quickly, words sharp with defensiveness. 3 surgeons, 2 neurologists, custom medical labs. They cost... I don't care what they cost. Silence drops like a curtain. Dante's eyes narrow. Dangerous again, alpha pride stung. But Luca doesn't look at him. He looks at Nico, who's watching him with barely breathing attention. "Everyone keeps saying the pain is normal," Nico says quietly, voice cracking just slightly. Like it's the price of existing. That sentence nearly shatters Luca, because he heard it once before. From a small voice that only exists now in memory and dreams that wake him screaming, "Daddy, the doctors say it'll always hurt. That's just how I am." Luca swallows hard, throat tight. "Pain isn't normal," he says. "Not like this." He kneels, ignoring the way his own knees protest, and checks each joint. Not adjusting yet, not disturbing, just mapping, tension lines, weight imbalance, pressure loads that don't distribute the way human anatomy demands. Nico watches him with the kind of hope that's learned to whisper instead of shout. Dante watches him like watching might change reality through sheer force of will. "These braces weren't built for your body," Luca says finally, standing. "They're built for the perfect patient doctors imagine, not the real one standing here." Nico blinks rapidly. Dante's lips part, just slightly, like he's been punched in the chest by a truth he already suspected, but never heard spoken aloud. Luca dusts off his hands and meets Dante's gaze directly. "I can change them," he says. "I can make them work with you, not against you." "Then do it," Dante says immediately, desperation cracking through alpha authority. "Name your price, anything." "But," Luca continues, voice steady. Dante stops, waiting. "It means I'll have to take them apart." The words settle like stones in water. "No clinics?" Dante asks carefully. "No hospitals?" "None that would allow what needs to be done," Luca answers. "And you won't like my price." Dante stiffens, shoulders squaring. Back to the billionaire who negotiates with threat and power. "Name it." Luca looks at him for a long moment, then at Nico. Then at the shadows in the corner where his past still burns. "You don't pay me." Luca says simply. Shock flickers across Dante's face. Genuine, unguarded. He stares at Luca, searching for deception, manipulation, hidden agenda. He finds none. Why? Dante whispers, voice stripped of everything except confusion. Luca's gaze drifts to Nico one more time, to the hope the boy is trying so desperately to contain. Because I couldn't save my pup, Luca says quietly. Let me save yours. Nico's breath catches. Dante's composure cracks. Just once. Just enough. And in that moment, something shifts in the garage that has nothing to do with braces or metal or medicine. It has to do with the kind of debt that can never be repaid, and the kind of loyalty that forms when alphas realize omegas aren't weak. They're just wounded warriors who still know how to fight. Dante's hands tremble. Just once. Just enough for Luca to notice. The alpha catches himself immediately, curling his fingers into fists, jaw locking, control slamming back into place like armor. But Luca saw it. The crack in the fortress. Sit, Luca says, nodding toward the worn stool near his workbench. It's not a request. Dante hesitates. Alphas don't take orders, especially not from omegas in forgotten garages. But something about Luca's tone bypasses hierarchy. He sits. Nico watches his father with wide eyes, like seeing a mountain bend. Luca pulls the braces toward the light, fingers moving with mechanical precision. He examines the joint connections, the locking mechanisms, the pressure distribution channels. His expression darkens with each passing second. These aren't mistakes, Luca says finally, voice cold. These are choices. Dante leans forward. What do you mean? Luca points to the knee joint, where metal meets adjustment screw. This angle? It forces your son's weight onto the weakest part of his leg structure. Creates constant micro-trauma. Pain that never heals because it's always being re-injured. He shifts to the ankle brace. This locking mechanism? It prevents natural movement adaptation. Keeps him dependent on external support instead of building his own strength. Nico's face goes pale. Dante's goes still, the kind of stillness that precedes violence. I'm saying someone wanted him broken, Luca says flatly. Someone designed these braces to keep him in pain, to keep him weak, to keep him needing them. The words hang in the air like knives. Dante stands slowly, alpha energy flooding the space. Dark, dangerous, lethal. Who? Luca meets his gaze without flinching. I don't know yet, but you do. Dante's jaw works silently, because yes, he suspects. Someone inside his network. Someone with access to his son's medical files. Someone who saw a disabled heir as opportunity instead of person. If I'm right, Luca says quietly, turning back to the braces, then fixing Nico doesn't just heal him. He looks up, eyes hard, knowing. It exposes them. Dante's hands curl into fists again, but this time they don't tremble. They promise reckoning. Nico whispers one question into the heavy silence. If you fix me, will they come for us? Neither man answers, because they both already know. The moment Nico walks without pain, the conspiracy collapses. And conspiracies don't die quietly. Luca closes the garage door. The sound echoes, metal on metal, final and deliberate. Outside, the city breathes with its usual chaos. Sirens, traffic, lives moving forward. Inside, time suspends. Dante stands near the Mercedes, watching Luca with the intensity of a predator recalculating threat assessment. Nico sits on the workbench, legs dangling, braces catching light like accusations. You lost a pup, Dante says quietly, not a question. Luca's hands still over the toolbox, For 3 seconds, he doesn't move, doesn't breathe. Then he pulls out a wrench and turns. Yes. One word. Entire universes of pain compressed into a single syllable. Dante waits, giving space the way alphas rarely do. Luca exhales slowly, setting the wrench down with careful precision. Matteo, 7 years old. Born with a spinal condition the doctors said was manageable. His voice doesn't waver, his hands do. They fitted him with a support brace, said it would help him grow stronger, that the pain was temporary, just his body adjusting. Nico's eyes widen, understanding blooming like horror. It wasn't, Luca continues, staring at the braces in his hands. Every month he got weaker. Every visit, they adjusted the brace and told us to be patient. That healing takes time. His grip tightens until his knuckles go white. He died 3 years ago. Infection from pressure sores that never healed because the brace never stopped creating them. Silence falls like ash. After the funeral, Luca says, voice dropping to something raw and dangerous. I looked at his medical files. Really looked. And I found design flaws identical to what I'm seeing in your son's braces. Dante's expression shifts. Grief recognition passing between two fathers who understand loss. I'm sorry, Dante says, and means it. Luca nods once. That's why you won't take my money, Dante says, understanding clicking into place. Because this isn't about payment, Luca finishes. This is about making sure no one else buries their child because profit matters more than people. He looks at Nico directly. I won't lie to you. If I do this, if I fix these braces and you walk without pain, we become targets. Whoever designed this medical torture will know. They'll come, and they won't come nicely. Nico swallows hard, fear and hope warring in his expression. But I also won't lie about this. Luca continues, voice softening. You deserve to run, to jump, to exist without metal punishment disguised as medicine, and I will give that to you, if you trust me. Nico looks at his father. Dante looks back, and for the first time since entering this garage, the ruthless alpha billionaire doesn't try to control the situation. He lets his son decide. Nico turns back to Luca, chin lifting with teenage bravery that's learned to disguise terror as courage. If I walk, Nico says carefully, they'll come for us. Yes, Luca confirms. But if I don't walk, Nico's voice cracks. I stay broken forever. Yes. Nico takes a shaky breath. Then fix me. Dante closes his eyes, just for a moment, like hearing his son claim autonomy after years of medical helplessness, breaks something fundamental in his chest. Luca nods and picks up his tools. Then we start tonight. He begins dismantling the first brace with surgical precision. Dante watches, alpha instinct screaming to intervene, to protect, to control, but he forces himself still. Because for the first time in 16 years, someone is giving his son hope instead of management. And hope, Dante is learning, requires trust. Even when trust is terrifying, especially then. An hour passes in concentrated silence. Luca measures, adjusts, recalculates. Nico watches with fascination, asking questions about angles and pressure points, mechanical engineering instead of just accepting medical authority. Dante sees his son's intelligence ignite, the mind that's been dormant under pain and limitation suddenly curious, engaged, alive. It's beautiful. It's heartbreaking. Finally, Luca straightens. That's enough for tonight, he says. Your body needs to adjust gradually. We push too hard, too fast. We cause different damage. Nico nods, carefully testing his weight. The brace holds, but differently now. Softer somehow, less punishing. It doesn't hurt as much, Nico whispers, disbelief coloring every word. Dante's breath catches. Luca allows himself a small smile. That's just the beginning, he says. Come back tomorrow. We'll do more. As they prepare to leave, Dante pauses at the garage entrance. You said whoever did this will know when Nico walks, he says quietly. How long do we have? Luca considers. Days. Maybe a week if we're lucky. Then I need to know who to watch for. Luca meets his gaze. Omega and Alpha, different hierarchies, same protective fury. Watch everyone, Luca says, because whoever betrayed your son, they're close enough to know his medical schedule, his doctors, his files. Dante's expression hardens into something lethal. They're in my inner circle. Yes. The Alpha nods once. Promise of violence contained behind expensive suit and controlled rage. Then I'll find them. And when you do? Luca asks. Dante's smile doesn't reach his eyes. I'll show them what happens when someone breaks my son. As the Mercedes pulls away, Luca notices something on the workbench. A small card, black with gold embossing. No words, just a symbol. A medical caduceus wrapped in thorns. He's seen that symbol before, on the equipment that killed his pup. And now he knows. This conspiracy is bigger than one boy. It's systematic, and it's been running for years. Day 3. Nico arrives early, practically vibrating with nervous energy. The braces have been modified twice more. Angles adjusted, weight redistributed, pressure points eliminated. Today is the test. You sure about this? Dante asks, hovering near his son with barely contained anxiety. Luca nods, wiping his hands. His body's ready. The braces are ready. But is he ready? Dante presses, alpha protectiveness bleeding through every word. Luca looks at Nico. Are you? Nico's jaw sets, determination replacing fear. Yes. Then stand. Nico grips the workbench edge and pushes himself up. The braces engage smoothly. No clicking, no grinding, just fluid mechanical support. His legs tremble, not from weakness, from disuse muscles waking up after years of forced dormancy. Weight on your left leg first, Luca instructs calmly. Let the brace guide, don't fight it. Nico shifts. His left knee bends, properly, naturally, without the punishing lock that used to make every movement agony. Good, Luca says. Now right leg, small step, don't rush. Nico lifts his right foot, 6 inches forward. The brace adjusts, compensating automatically for the new center of gravity. He sets his foot down. Weight transfers. The knee holds, then buckles. Nico gasps, arms windmilling. Dante lunges forward with alpha speed, catching his son before he falls. No! Dante snaps, turning on Luca with fury igniting in his eyes. This is over. You're hurting him. Papa, wait! Nico starts. We're done, Dante interrupts, alpha command flooding his voice. We'll go back to the specialists. Real doctors, people with credentials and braces that keep him broken. Luca says quietly. The words cut through Dante's rage like ice water. The alpha freezes, trembling with conflicting instincts. Protect versus heal, control versus trust. Mr. Romano, Luca says, voice soft but unyielding. Look at your son. Dante's gaze snaps down. Nico is staring at his legs with wonder, not fear. It didn't hurt, Nico whispers. Papa, I fell and it didn't hurt. The words hang in the air. Dante blinks, processing. The buckle wasn't failure, Luca explains, kneeling beside them. It was proof. His muscles are firing, actually engaging instead of just existing inside metal prison. They're weak from years of atrophy, yes, but they're working. He looks up at Dante with something like compassion. Your son's body is remembering how to be human. That takes time. That takes patience. And yes, sometimes it takes falling. Dante's grip on Nico loosens slightly. You promise he's not getting worse? The question comes out raw, stripped of alpha authority. Just a father, terrified. I promise, Luca says, but only if you let me continue. Silence stretches. Finally, Dante exhales and carefully helps Nico stand again. One more try, he says hoarsely, but if he falls again, then we stop for today and strengthen different muscle groups tomorrow, Luca finishes. This isn't magic. It's engineering and patience. Nico grips his father's arm, not for support, but for reassurance. I want to try again, he says firmly. Dante searches his son's face, sees determination instead of pain, and slowly nods. Okay. Luca guides Nico's stance, adjusting his posture micro-degrees at a time. Weight centered, knees soft, not locked. Let the braces support, not control. Nico breathes deeply, lifts his foot, steps forward. Weight transfers. The brace adjusts, his knee holds, then the next step. Holds, next, holds, 5 steps across the garage floor. His legs tremble violently, muscles screaming from exertion they haven't experienced in over a decade. But he doesn't fall. Stop there, Luca says quickly. Don't push beyond what your body can sustain. Nico stops, breathing hard, face flushed. I did it, he whispers. I actually did it. Dante stands frozen, watching his son stand independently for the first time in years. His hands shake, his jaw works silently, and for just a moment, the ruthless alpha billionaire looks like he might break apart. That wasn't failure, Luca says, smiling at Nico with genuine pride. That was your body proving it remembers how to heal. He meets Dante's eyes. And tomorrow, we'll teach it to remember how to run. That night, Dante stays awake watching surveillance footage of his son's doctors, his medical team, anyone with access. He sees something in the reflection of a computer screen, a pattern of clinic visits that don't match scheduling records. Someone has been adjusting Nico's braces off-book. Someone close. And when Dante freezes the frame, he recognizes the medical assistant's ring. The same thorned caduceus symbol Luca found. The conspiracy has a face, and faces can bleed. Day 7. Nico walks 15 steps before his legs give out. But he's laughing when he collapses into the chair, exhausted, soaked with sweat, triumphant. I can't believe this is happening, he says between gasps. Luca hands him water, fighting the smile that wants to break across his face. Believe it. Your body's rewiring neural pathways that have been dormant since you were a kid. That's not luck. That's you doing the work. Nico drinks deeply, then looks at Luca with the kind of openness teenagers rarely show. You really think I'll run someday? Luca crouches down to eye level. I don't think. I know. Your body was never broken, Nico. Just imprisoned. The words settle between them, truth and promise wrapped together. Dante watches from near the garage entrance, pretending to check his phone but listening to every syllable. Can I ask you something? Nico says quietly. Always. Your son, Matteo. What was he like? The name lands like a punch. Luca's breath catches, just for a second, before he forces himself steady. He hasn't talked about Matteo, not in 3 years, not out loud. But looking at Nico's open, curious face, he finds he wants to. Stubborn, Luca says, voice thick. Funny, obsessed with dinosaurs and spaceships, he used to draw these elaborate pictures of T-Rexes piloting rocket ships. Nico grins. That sounds awesome. It was. Luca's hands fidget with a wrench. Need for motion, need for grounding. He wanted to be a paleontologist or an astronaut. He couldn't decide, so he said he'd be both. Dig up dinosaur bones on Mars. The memory unfolds, painful and precious simultaneously. The day he got his brace, he made me promise we'd go to the Space Museum once he could walk better. Luca's voice cracks. I never got to take him. Silence fills the garage, heavy, aching. Nico reaches out and takes Luca's hand. The touch is simple, pure. A pup offering comfort to a wounded Omega. I bet he was proud of you anyway, Nico says softly. My papa says the best dads are the ones who keep trying even when everything hurts. Luca looks up, vision blurring. Across the garage, Dante's back is turned, shoulders rigid. But Luca can see the Alpha's reflection in the Mercedes window. Sees the way Dante's hand covers his mouth. Sees the silent grief passing between two fathers who understand loss differently but completely. Thank you, Luca whispers to Nico. For what? For letting me try again. Nico squeezes his hand once, then releases. When I run, and I will run, I'm going to the Space Museum, and I'll take a picture for Matteo. Something breaks in Luca's chest. Not pain, release. He nods, unable to speak. Later, after Nico is doing stretching exercises, Dante approaches quietly. You didn't have to share that, the Alpha says, voice rough. Yes, I did, Luca replies. Nico deserves to know why this matters. Why he matters. Dante studies him, calculating, assessing, seeing past Omega designation to the person underneath. You're not what I expected, Dante admits. What did you expect? Weakness, submission, the Omega stereotype. Luca huffs a bitter laugh. Omegas aren't weak. We're just better at choosing our battles. And this? Dante gestures to Nico. Is this a battle you chose? Luca meets his gaze directly. No. This is a battle that chose me. And I don't plan on losing. Something shifts in Dante's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. What will it cost to keep you safe if this works? He asks quietly. When the people who broke my son realize what you've done? Luca doesn't answer immediately, because he knows the answer, and it terrifies him. Everything, he finally says. It'll cost everything. Dante's jaw sets, Alpha determination crystallizing. Then I'll pay it. You can't. Watch me. The command isn't Alpha dominance. It's promise. Protection offered freely, not because hierarchy demands it, but because one father recognizes another's sacrifice. Before Luca can respond, Nico calls out, Luca, watch this. They both turn. Nico stands independently, no support, no assistance, and lifts one leg. Balance wavers but holds. He's standing, on one leg, voluntarily. 3 weeks ago, that would have been impossible. Dante's breath catches audibly. Luca feels tears burn his eyes. That's my boy, Dante whispers. Pride and disbelief and hope tangled together. Nico grins, sets his foot down, and laughs. Did you see? Did you? His expression shifts, from joy to confusion to fear. Luca. Why is there a car outside? They all turn. Through the garage's grimy window, headlights illuminate the alley. Black SUV, windows tinted, engine idling, not moving, not leaving, just watching. Dante's entire demeanor changes, from proud father to lethal alpha in half a heartbeat. "Get away from the window," he says quietly. Luca guides Nico behind the workbench. The SUV's engine revs once, a warning. Then it slowly rolls away, deliberate, unhurried, making sure they know it can return any time. When the sound fades, Dante turns to Luca. His eyes are cold, calculated, dangerous. "They know," he says simply. "Yes." "How long do we have?" Luca looks at Nico, at the progress, the healing, the miracle happening in real time. "Not long enough." That night, Dante makes 3 phone calls. The first is to his head of security. The second is to his lawyer. The third is to the medical clinic that fitted Nico's original braces. He asks one question: who authorized off-schedule adjustments? The silence on the other end tells him everything. The conspiracy isn't just close, it's inside his own organization. And tomorrow, when Nico walks again, the person who wanted him broken will have to watch him heal. That's when masks fall. That's when wars begin. If you've ever watched someone powerful realize their greatest weakness isn't external enemies, but internal betrayal, you understand what happens when alphas discover trust is more fragile than bone. The next chapter changes everything, because Nico doesn't just walk. He walks in front of the one person who never wanted him to, and some truths can't be unseen. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. And some fathers, both Omega and Alpha, will burn the world down to protect their sons. Day 14. The garage smells like metal shavings and oil, morning light cutting through dust particles that float like suspended stars. Nico arrives before dawn. He doesn't wait for his father to open the car door, pushes it open himself, braces engaging smoothly as he stands. Dante follows 3 steps behind, watching with the intensity of a man who's learned that miracles are fragile things that shatter if you breathe wrong. Luca is already waiting, tools laid out with surgical precision. "Today?" Nico asks, voice tight with barely contained hope. Luca nods once. "Today." The final calibrations take an hour. Micro adjustments to the ankle joint, tension release on the knee brace, weight distribution recalculated one last time. Nico sits perfectly still, breathing controlled, muscles coiled, like an athlete before a race that will define everything. Dante stands near the Mercedes, hands shoved in his pockets to hide their trembling. Finally, Luca steps back. "Stand up," he says quietly. Nico grips the workbench edge, habit more than need, and pushes himself vertical. The braces engage. No clicking, no grinding, just smooth, fluid support that moves with him instead of against him. "How does it feel?" Luca asks. Nico shifts his weight experimentally, left leg, right leg, testing limits that used to punish him. "Light," he whispers, disbelief coloring every syllable. "Like they're not even there." "Good. Now walk to your father." The command hangs in the air. Simple, impossible, everything. Nico looks across the garage floor. 15 feet. Might as well be 15 miles. Dante's jaw clenches, fighting every alpha instinct that screams to close the distance, to carry his son, to prevent any possibility of failure or pain, but he stays still. Because Luca is right. Nico needs to do this himself. "You've got this," Luca says softly, positioning himself beside Nico. "I'm right here, but you don't need me. Your body remembers. Trust it." Nico takes a breath, deep, steadying, brave, lifts his right foot, moves it forward, 6 inches, weight transfers. The brace adjusts automatically. His knee holds, No buckling, no collapse, no pain. His eyes widen. Again, Luca encourages. Don't think, just move. Left foot, forward, smooth. Right foot, forward, fluid. The braces work like they were always meant to, supporting without imprisoning, guiding without controlling. Nico's breath comes faster now, not from exhaustion, but from realization. He's walking, actually walking. 3 steps, 5, 7. His legs tremble, muscles firing after years of forced dormancy, but they hold. 10 steps. Dante's hands come out of his pockets, hovering uselessly in the air like he's forgotten how arms work. His lips part. No sound comes out. 12 steps. Nico's grin breaks across his face. Pure, unfiltered joy. Papa, His voice cracks. 15 steps. He reaches his father, stands in front of him, independently, painlessly, freely. For 3 heartbeats, neither of them moves. Then Nico laughs, bright, shocked, triumphant, and the sound breaks something fundamental in Dante's chest. The ruthless alpha billionaire covers his mouth with both hands. His shoulders shake. His eyes flood, tears spilling over despite every effort to contain them. He doesn't make a sound, but his whole body trembles with the force of emotions he's contained for 16 years. Grief, rage, helplessness, and now, finally, impossible hope. Nico reaches out, tentative. Papa? Dante pulls his son into an embrace so fierce it borders on desperation. His face buries in Nico's hair, and the tears come. Silent, unstoppable, years of controlled alpha composure shattering like glass. You walked, Dante whispers hoarsely. You walked. I walked, Nico confirms, voice muffled against his father's expensive suit. Luca watches from across the garage, his own vision blurring. This moment, this exact moment, is why he couldn't let go. Why he kept the garage open despite bankruptcy. Why he said yes when the Mercedes rolled into his alley. Because healing isn't about medicine. It's about refusing to accept that pain is permanent. Dante finally releases Nico enough to look at him, hands gripping his son's shoulders, studying his face like seeing him for the first time. How do you feel? He asks. Like I could run, Nico answers honestly. Then let's see if you can. The voice comes from the garage entrance. They all turn. A woman stands silhouetted against morning light. Expensive coat, designer heels, medical badge clipped to her belt. Dr. Helena Voss, Nico's primary physician. Dante's jaw hardens instantly, alpha energy flooding the space with lethal intent. How did you get in here? He asks, voice dangerously soft. Helena steps inside, heels clicking on concrete. Her eyes sweep over Nico, standing, walking, healed, and something flickers across her expression. Not surprise. Recognition. I came to see the miracle everyone's been whispering about, she says smoothly. Though I have to say, Mr. Romano, modifying medical equipment without proper oversight is incredibly dangerous. Is it? Luca asks quietly, stepping forward. Or is it dangerous to design braces that keep patients dependent? Helena's gaze snaps to him, assessing, calculating. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Luca interrupts. I'm stating fact. Those braces were designed to maintain disability, not heal it. And you knew. Silence drops like a curtain. Dante moves, slow, predatory, positioning himself between Helena and his son. Explain, he commands. Alpha authority making the word a physical force. Now. Helena's composure cracks, just slightly, before she reconstructs it with professional precision. You're being paranoid. The braces were state-of-the-art. They were torture devices, Luca cuts in. voice hard. Custom designed to create dependency, to keep Nico in pain, to ensure he'd need constant medical supervision. He pulls out a folder from his workbench, pages marked with calculations, design flaws highlighted in red. Every adjustment you made, documented, every off-schedule maintenance visit, recorded. You didn't just fail to heal him, you actively prevented it. Helena's face goes pale. Dante's hands curl into fists. Why? His voice cracks on the word, raw, wounded, furious. Helena's mask slips completely. Underneath is something cold, calculated, utterly mercenary. Because a disabled heir is worth more than a healthy one, she says flatly. Medical contracts, long-term care agreements, pharmaceutical dependencies, it's a revenue stream that lasts decades. Your son wasn't a patient, Mr. Romano. He was an investment. The words hang in the air like poison. Nico makes a small, wounded sound. Dante moves, fast, violent, alpha rage unleashed. Luca catches his arm. Not here, the Omega says firmly. Not in front of your son. The command stops Dante cold. He trembles, breathing hard, murder written in every line of his body. But he stops. Helena backs toward the entrance, survival instinct finally kicking in. You'll regret this, she says quickly. The medical board, the lawsuits, the exposure. Go ahead, Dante says, voice deadly calm now. Expose me, because I'm going to expose you. Every patient you've kept dependent, every family you've exploited, every life you've destroyed for profit. He takes one step forward. Helena runs. The garage falls silent except for Nico's shaky breathing. Luca guides the boy to sit, checking him over with gentle, efficient hands. You okay? He asks softly. Nico nods, then shakes his head, then nods again. Too many emotions to process. She kept me broken on purpose, he whispers. Yes. For money. Yes. Tears spill down Nico's cheeks, not from physical pain, but from the realization that his suffering was deliberate, calculated, profitable. Dante kneels beside him, pulling him close. I'm sorry, the Alpha whispers. I trusted her. I should have questioned. I should have... You couldn't have known. Luca interrupts gently. They're experts at hiding behind credentials and authority. But now we know, and now we fight back. Dante looks up, Alpha and Omega, united in protective fury. How? Luca's expression hardens. We make Nico walk in public. We document everything. We prove that medical negligence isn't just malpractice. It's systematic abuse disguised as care. And when they come for us, Dante asks, then we stand together. Outside, a black SUV pulls into the alley. But this time, Dante doesn't flinch. He stands, pulling Nico up with him. Let them come, he says quietly. My son can walk now, and that changes everything. Helena makes one phone call from her car. The Romano boy is mobile, full range, no pain indicators. The person on the other end goes silent, then replies, Contain the mechanic, permanently. Because medical conspiracies don't collapse quietly. They fight. And the SUV outside? It's not watching anymore. It's waiting for orders. The man who enters 3 days later doesn't look like a threat. Expensive suit. Italian. Tailored. The kind that costs more than Luca's annual rent. Polished shoes that click precisely on concrete. Silver hair swept back with distinguished care. He smiles. Warm, disarming, professional. Luca doesn't trust him for a second. Mr. Moretti, the man introduces himself, extending a manicured hand. I represent the Consortium of Advanced Medical Solutions. May I have a moment of your time? Luca doesn't shake his hand. Garage is closed. I'm not here for repairs. Moretti's smile doesn't waver. I'm here about the modifications you've made to young Mr. Romano's medical equipment. The temperature drops. Luca crosses his arms, positioning himself between Moretti and his workspace. What about them? They're concerning. Moretti pulls out a tablet, scrolling through documents with practiced ease. You see, medical devices require FDA approval, licensed practitioners, liability insurance, and you, Mr. Moretti, have none of these things. The devices were already approved, Luca counters. I just made them actually work. A dangerous distinction. Moretti's tone shifts, still polite, now edged with something sharp. Especially when that distinction undermines established medical protocols. We're prepared to overlook your unauthorized interventions, provided you cease immediately and return the boy to our accredited facilities. No. The word hangs in the air. Simple, absolute. Moretti's smile tightens. Mr. Moretti, I don't think you understand the gravity. I understand perfectly. Luca steps forward, meeting the man's gaze without flinching. You want Nico back in your system because he's profitable when he's broken. Now he's walking, and your revenue stream is bleeding out. Moretti's expression hardens. Careful with accusations you can't prove. I can prove all of it. Luca nods toward his workbench. Every design flaw, every deliberate miscalibration, every adjustment meant to maintain dependency. It's documented, photographed, and backed up in 3 locations. For the first time, genuine anger flickers across Moretti's face. You're playing a dangerous game. It's not a game. No? Moretti's voice drops to something cold and lethal. Then let me be clear. Accidents happen in garages, fires, structural collapses. Tragic but statistically inevitable in spaces that don't meet safety codes. The threat is naked now. No pretense, no diplomacy. Luca's hands curl into fists, Omega instincts screaming danger, but his voice stays steady. Touch this garage, you'll have Dante Romano to answer to, and I think we both know what happens to people who threaten his son. Moretti's jaw tightens. He steps closer, invading space, asserting dominance. Romano's power has limits, and you, Mr. Moretti, are a liability we can't afford. He turns toward the exit, then pauses. You have 72 hours to comply. Return the boy to proper medical care. Destroy your documentation. Disappear quietly. And if I don't? Moretti looks back, eyes cold, promise of violence wrapped in expensive clothing. Then we'll make sure you do. The door closes behind him. Luca exhales shakily, adrenaline flooding his system. His phone buzzes. Dante, we need to talk. Now. Luca looks at the workbench, at the evidence scattered across worn surfaces, at the tools that saved Nico, at the life he's built from grief and stubborn refusal to give up. Then he looks at the symbol etched on a business card Moretti left behind. The thorned caduceus. Same symbol from Nico's original equipment. Same symbol from the clinic that killed his son. His hands shake, not from fear, from rage that's been waiting 3 years to find a target. 72 hours, he whispers to the empty garage. Then let's see who disappears. Luca texts Dante back. Check your son's medical records. Look for the symbol. 20 minutes later, Dante calls, voice shaking. It's on everything. Every prescription, every specialist referral, every piece of equipment. How deep does this go? Luca closes his eyes. Deeper than we thought. This isn't one conspiracy. It's an entire industry. They meet in Dante's penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a city that looks beautiful and indifferent. Nico is at a safe house with Dante's most trusted security. It's just Alpha and Omega now, and evidence that damns everyone. Dante spreads files across the marble dining table. Medical records, financial transactions, coded communications. His hands shake as he points to highlighted sections. Dr. Voss wasn't working alone, he says hoarsely. She reported to a network, 6 major medical consortiums, hundreds of practitioners, thousands of patients kept deliberately dependent. Luca leans over the documents, recognizing patterns. It's systematic, he says quietly. They target families with money and desperation, offer cutting-edge solutions that create lifelong dependencies. Every follow-up visit generates revenue. Every complication requires more treatment. It's not healthcare. It's financial engineering. Dante's fist slams onto the table. My son suffered for 16 years because these people saw profit margins instead of a child. His voice breaks on the last word. Luca watches the Alpha unravel, composure dissolving under the weight of betrayal that cuts deeper than any business rivalry. Who authorized it? Luca asks carefully. Inside your organization, who had access to approve Nico's doctors? Dante goes still, terrifyingly still. There's only one person with that level of clearance, he whispers. Who? Dante's jaw works silently before he forces the name out. Marcus, my chief operating officer, my friend for 20 years, the man who stood beside me at my wife's funeral, who held Nico when he was born. The betrayal settles like poison. Luca sees the exact moment it breaks something fundamental in Dante, the realization that evil doesn't always announce itself with villainy. Sometimes it wears the face of friendship. He got kickbacks, Dante continues, voice hollow. Hidden payments, stock options in the medical consortiums. Every year Nico stayed disabled, Marcus got richer. He pulls out a final document, financial forensics that paint a damning picture. 2.3 million over 16 years. That's what my son's suffering was worth to him. Luca's hands curl into fists. He thinks of Matteo, of the clinic that kept promising improvement while his pup got weaker, of the doctor who smiled sympathetically at every visit while billing for procedures that did nothing. We expose him, Luca says flatly. We expose all of them. Exposure isn't enough. Dante's eyes harden, ruthless Alpha returning, now with righteous purpose. I want them destroyed. Every doctor, every executive, every person who profited from suffering. Revenge won't heal the victims. No. Dante meets his gaze. But justice might prevent more. Luca nods slowly. Then we need evidence that can't be dismissed. Video testimony, expert analysis. A case so airtight that wealth and influence can't bury it. I have the financial records, Dante says. You have the engineering proof. What else do we need? Witnesses. Other families who've been exploited. How do we find them? Luca pulls out his phone, scrolling through old support group forums, places where desperate parents share stories of children who never heal despite endless treatment. Same pattern everywhere, he says quietly. Kids who should be getting better but stay static. Parents who keep paying because doctors promise the next procedure will work. It's the same playbook, repeated thousands of times. Dante reads over his shoulder, expression darkening with each post. We'll contact them, offer to review their medical equipment. And when the consortium realizes what we're doing, they'll escalate. Can you protect all these families? Dante's smile is cold, lethal, promising violence to anyone who threatens vulnerable children. Watch me. But before they can plan further, Dante's phone rings. His head of security, voice tight, urgent. "Sir, we have a situation at the safe house." Dante's blood runs cold. "What situation?" "Someone tried to access the property. We intercepted them before they reached the house, but..." The security chief hesitates. "They had medical credentials, and they were asking for Nico by name." Dante's hand tightens on the phone until it cracks. "Where's my son?" "Safe. But sir, the person we detained, it's Dr. Reeves, Nico's pediatrician since he was 4 years old." The room spins. Dr. Reeves, kind, gentle Dr. Reeves, who gave Nico lollipops and reassured Dante that medical progress takes time. Dr. Reeves, who was part of the conspiracy. Luca watches the alpha crumble. Not from weakness, but from the cumulative weight of realizing everyone he trusted has been lying. "It was all of them," Dante whispers. "Everyone I let near my son." Luca stands, moving around the table. He places a hand on Dante's shoulder. Omega offering comfort to Alpha. Hierarchy be damned. "Not all of them," Luca says firmly. "I'm here, and I'm not lying." Dante looks up, eyes wet, expression raw. "How do I know?" "Because I have nothing to gain and everything to lose. Because I'm doing this for a pup I'll never see again. And because when everyone else saw profit, I saw your son." The words hang in the air, truth and promise. Dante's hand covers Luca's, grip tight, desperate, grateful. "Don't leave," he whispers. "Whatever happens next, don't leave us." Luca squeezes back. "I won't." That night, Dante makes a decision. He calls a press conference. Live broadcast, no delays, no corporate filters. He's going to expose everything: the medical conspiracy, the betrayals, his son's suffering, and he's going to dare the consortium to come for him publicly. Luca warns him, "Once you do this, there's no going back. They'll destroy you." Dante smiles, cold, determined, unafraid. "Then let them try. Because I'm not protecting my empire anymore. I'm protecting my son." The press conference is scheduled for 6 p.m. By noon, the threats start arriving. Legal notices, cease and desist orders, voicemails from lawyers with voices like sharpened knives. Dante ignores all of them. He's in his office rehearsing the statement that will end his reputation and save his son. Luca is in the garage, preparing evidence, photographs, measurements, testimony written in steady handwriting that refuses to shake despite fear. Nico is in the safe house, watching news coverage with security guards who've been with Dante since before the boy was born. 3 locations, 3 targets. The consortium knows this. At 2 p.m., Luca's garage alarm triggers. He looks up from his workbench to find Marcus standing in the doorway. Expensive suit, familiar face, betrayal wearing a smile. "Hello, Luca," Marcus says pleasantly. "We should talk." Luca's hand drifts toward his phone. Marcus holds up his own device. "I wouldn't. Your phone's been jammed. So has this entire block. It's just you and me now." The garage suddenly feels smaller, dangerous. "Dante will know you're here," Luca says, forcing his voice steady. Dante's at his office, preparing to destroy his own legacy. By the time he realizes where I am, this conversation will be over. Marcus steps inside, closing the door behind him. "You've caused quite a disruption, Mr. Moretti. Impressive, really. Taking apart medical equipment most engineers couldn't begin to understand. Teaching a disabled boy to walk. Very heroic. Get to the point. The point is this. You're going to call Dante. You're going to tell him the evidence was flawed, that you made mistakes, that Nico's improvement was temporary and he needs to return to proper medical care. No. Marcus's pleasant expression doesn't change. I'm not asking. He pulls a syringe from his pocket. Clear liquid, professional packaging, medical sedative, or poison. Luca's Omega instincts scream danger, but he forces himself still. You think you can threaten me into compliance? I think you're smart enough to recognize when you're beaten. Marcus advances slowly. One way or another, you're leaving this garage today, either conscious and cooperative or unconscious and disposed of. Your choice. Luca's mind races, phone jammed, no weapons, no backup. Just him and a man who's profited from suffering for decades. But Luca has something Marcus doesn't. He has nothing left to lose. Before you do this, Luca says carefully, answer one question. Marcus pauses. What? Did you know about my son? About Matteo? Confusion flickers across Marcus's face. The boy who died 3 years ago in Dr. Voss's care. Did you know his braces were designed to fail? Understanding dawns, then carefully concealed guilt. That wasn't personal, just business. The words ignite something in Luca, not rage, cold, calculated purpose. Then this isn't personal either. He moves, fast, Omega reflexes honed by years of mechanical precision. Grabs a wrench from the workbench, swings. Marcus dodges, but not fast enough. The wrench connects with his hand. The syringe shatters on concrete. Marcus snarls, lunging forward with alpha strength. They crash into the workbench, tools scattering. Luca is smaller, weaker by designation, but he's fighting for more than survival. He's fighting for every pup these people destroyed. He drives his elbow into Marcus's ribs, hearing something crack. Marcus gasps, grip loosening. Luca shoves him back, grabbing his phone. Jammer be damned, he needs to try. The garage door explodes inward. Dante stands silhouetted against afternoon light. Alpha fury incarnate. Behind him, security team, police, news cameras, he'd known. Somehow, he'd known Marcus would come here. Get away from him, Dante says, voice lethally quiet. Marcus straightens, smoothing his suit, trying to reconstruct dignity. This isn't what it looks like. It looks like attempted assault, Dante interrupts. On a witness in an ongoing investigation, with cameras rolling, so please keep talking. Marcus's face goes pale as he realizes the news crews aren't here for the press conference. They're here for this, the arrest, the exposure, live broadcast. No corporate lawyers to bury it. Luca sags against the workbench, adrenaline crash hitting hard. Dante crosses the space in 3 strides, hands checking Luca for injuries with surprising gentleness. You okay? He asks quietly. Yeah. Luca's voice shakes. How did you know? Because I know Marcus, and I know desperate men do desperate things. Dante's hands steady on Luca's shoulders. I wasn't losing you too. Police move in, cuffing Marcus while reading rights he'll need lawyers to challenge. The cameras capture everything. By evening, the footage goes viral. Medical conspiracy exposed. Billionaire's son walking. Omega mechanics standing against systemic abuse. The press conference still happens. But now with criminal charges attached. Evidence undeniable. Public outrage demanding justice. That night, in the garage that's become a sanctuary, Nico takes his first steps without braces at all. His legs are strong enough now, healed enough, free. He walks to Luca and hugs him, teenager trying not to cry, failing beautifully. Thank you, Nico whispers, for everything. Luca holds him tight, thinking of Matteo, of all the children who never got this chance. You did the work, he says. I just opened the door. Dante watches them, Alpha and Omega and Pup, and realizes this is family now. Not by blood, by choice. By the bonds forged when people refuse to accept cruelty as inevitable. The message arrives at midnight, encrypted, untraceable. You exposed one network. Congratulations, but we're bigger than you imagine. And now that we know what you can do, Mr. Moretti, others want to hire you, whether you agree or not. The SUV appears outside the garage again, but this time someone steps out, a woman in a wheelchair. Behind her, 6 more people with medical equipment. And behind them? An Alpha who makes Dante look merciful. They've come to the Omega who fixes the broken, and they won't take no for an answer. 3 months later. The medical consortium is in shambles. Trials underway, executives in handcuffs, licenses revoked across 12 states. Dr. Voss testified against her superiors in exchange for reduced sentencing. Marcus is awaiting trial for conspiracy, medical fraud, and attempted assault. 473 families have come forward with similar stories. And Nico? Nico runs. Not perfectly. His body is still rebuilding strength, relearning coordination, but he runs. Down the alley where his father's Mercedes first appeared. Past the garage that changed everything. Into the afternoon light that makes him look like the boy he should have been all along. Dante watches from the garage entrance, leaning against the doorframe with tears streaming down his face. He doesn't hide them anymore. Doesn't apologize for emotions that alpha culture taught him to bury. Because his son is running, and everything else is irrelevant. Luca stands beside him, wiping grease from his hands. Some things never change. You did that, Dante says hoarsely. We did that, Luca corrects. Dante turns, meeting his gaze directly. I want to offer you something. Luca raises an eyebrow. I told you, not money. Dante pulls out a key card, sleek, black, official. A research position, medical engineering oversight. You'd work with families like ours. Fix equipment that's designed to fail. Build prosthetics that actually heal instead of imprison. Luca stares at the card. You want me to work for you? I want you to work with me. Build something that prevents this from happening to other kids, other families. The offer hangs in the air, possibility and purpose wrapped together. I'm not a doctor, Luca says carefully. You're better. You see what doctors miss. You care when systems don't. Dante's hand extends. Not command, not transaction, but invitation. Help me build something that matters. Luca looks at the keycard, at Dante's outstretched hand. At Nico laughing in the distance, alive and free. He thinks of Matteo, of the promise he made over a grave too small for the world's cruelty. I'll make sure no one else buries their pup because profit matters more than people. Okay, Luca says quietly, taking the card. But I keep the garage. Dante smiles. Genuine, warm, no alpha posturing. Deal. They shake hands. Omega and Alpha equals now, bound by something stronger than hierarchy. Family, purpose. The refusal to let injustice win. Nico returns, breathing hard, grinning wide. Did you see? I ran the whole block. I saw, Dante says, pulling his son into an embrace that's become easier, more natural over these months. I'm so proud of you. Couldn't have done it without Luca, Nico says, reaching for the Omega's hand. They stand together, 3 people who found each other in desperation and built something unbreakable. But as afternoon fades to evening, Luca's phone buzzes. Unknown number. 1 message. Impressive work with the Romano boy. We have others who need your services. Financially compensated. Non-negotiable. Meet us at the attached address, or we'll come to you. You have 48 hours. An address follows. Then another message, this one containing a photo. A young girl in a hospital bed, surrounded by medical equipment that looks expensive, official, and deliberately wrong. The same thorned caduceus symbol on every device. Luca's blood runs cold. "What is it?" Dante asks, noticing his expression. Luca shows him the phone. Dante's face hardens immediately. It's a trap. It's also a girl who needs help. They're using her as bait. I know. Luca pockets the phone. But what if she's real? What if she's suffering the way Nico did? Dante starts to argue, alpha protectiveness flaring, then stops. Because he recognizes that look in Luca's eyes. The same look he had when he first saw Nico struggling to stand. The Omega who can't walk away from suffering, even when walking away would be smarter. If we do this, Dante says carefully, we do it together. No heroics, no solo missions. We're a team now. Luca looks at him, at the alpha who broke down crying when his son walked, who trusted an Omega with his most precious thing, who's learned that strength isn't about control, but about standing beside someone when the world demands they fall. Together, Luca agrees. Nico watches them both, understanding settling across his face. You're going to help her, aren't you? We're going to try, Luca says honestly. But this time we're prepared. This time we know what we're fighting. Then I'm coming too, Nico says firmly. Absolutely not, Dante starts. Papa. Nico's voice carries quiet authority that surprises all of them. I spent 16 years being protected, being kept safe while staying broken. I'm done being protected. Let me help. The words land like revelation. Dante looks at his son, truly looks, and sees not the disabled boy he spent years trying to shield, but the young man who's learned that survival isn't enough. Sometimes you have to fight. Okay, Dante says finally. But you follow our lead. And if things get dangerous, I run. Nico finishes. I know. Because now I can. They stand together in the garage that's become sacred ground. Omega, Alpha, and the boy who learned to walk again. Outside, the city continues its chaos. Inside, 3 people make a choice. To fight the system that profits from suffering. To expose the networks that prefer brokenness to healing. To stand for every family that's been told pain is normal and dependency is inevitable. Luca looks at the message one more time, then deletes it. They'll go. Not because they were summoned, but because they choose to. And this time, when the conspiracy tries to silence them, they'll discover something crucial. Omegas aren't weak. They're just better at choosing their battles. Alphas aren't invincible. They're just learning what's worth protecting. And boys who learn to walk again? They remember what freedom costs. And they refuse to let anyone steal it. Dante wraps one arm around Nico, the other around Luca, family forged in fire, bound by choice, unbreakable by design. Whatever comes next, he says quietly, we face it together. Together, Luca echoes. Together, Nico confirms. The garage lights flicker. Outside, a black SUV pulls away. Message delivered, trap set, war beginning. But inside? Inside, 3 people smile. Tears still drying, hope still growing, courage still building. Because some miracles don't end with healing. They begin there. And sometimes, the Omega who couldn't save his own pup becomes the father who saves hundreds more. One step, one brace, one refusal at a time. 6 months pass. Luca's garage becomes a pilgrimage site. Families traveling from across the country with medical equipment that promises healing but delivers imprisonment. Dante's foundation grows, funding research, exposing fraud, rebuilding what corruption destroyed. Nico applies to engineering school. Essay topic: The man who taught me walking was just the beginning. But on a Tuesday morning, when Luca opens his garage, 20 wheelchairs wait in the alley, 20 families, 20 children who've been told their suffering is permanent. And behind them, a woman in military uniform, stars on her shoulder, authority in her bearing. Mr. Moretti, the government would like to contract your services. We have soldiers coming home with equipment designed by the lowest bidder. Equipment that fails them. Equipment that keeps them dependent. She extends a folder, thick, official, containing names and medical histories. Will you help them? Luca looks at the wheelchairs, at the hope in young faces, at the desperation in parents' eyes. He thinks of Matteo, of Nico running, of promises made over graves and kept in garages. Yes, he says simply, because the war against medical exploitation isn't over. It's just beginning. And this time, the Omega who fixes broken things has an alpha army behind him. The ruthless billionaire who learned to cry, the boy who learned to run, and every family who refuses to accept that profit matters more than people. Some revolutions start with violence. This one starts with a wrench, a garage, and an Omega who remembers. The most dangerous thing in the world isn't an alpha's rage. It's an Omega's refusal to let another pup die. If you've ever watched someone refuse to accept that the world is cruel simply because it's always been cruel, if you've ever known someone who chose to fight systems instead of surrender to them, if you've ever wondered what happens when compassion becomes revolution, then you understand why this story doesn't end here. It's just the first battle, the first child saved, the first alpha who learned that power isn't about dominance. It's about standing beside people who refuse to kneel. And sometimes, the most important question isn't, can broken things be fixed? It's, who profits when we believe they can't? The answer will make you cry. And then, it'll make you fight.